Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Today's layout process video brings you 2 challenges in one project. So let's go ahead and get started. My first challenge that I'm working on is a transportation theme over at the Counterfeit Kit group. And that's a totally free group, and if you're new here, I will leave you links to that. The second challenge here is using this sketch from the ScrapHappy group, and that is a membership group, and I will leave you links to that too if you don't know about them yet. So I'm going to take this sketch, and instead of using that one bigger photo from the sketch, I am going to use these 6 smaller photos in a photo block there. And because the initial vibe that I get off of that sketch kind of has an L shape to it, I am using this pattern paper that is a Heidi Swap pattern paper that has an L design to it already. And I am going to use another sheet of paper to attach all those photos down to create a solid photo block, and I won't leave any gaps between the photos, and that will help the photos read more as one block. I'm going to use that wood grain paper to do that, and I will, I think, I can't quite remember if I trim the photos down or not. I think I do, just by a little bit, and then I put them in order that makes sense for the story. And I will later eventually outline each one with a black permanent marker. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of this stuff attached down and we can move on. With my photo block ready to go, I can take another look at the sketch and see what else we've got going on. So here you can see vaguely that there is a circle behind that photo block, and I'm going to accomplish that with embellishments instead of a piece of pattern paper cut into a circle or whatnot. So I have these little greenery embellishments, and I believe those are from Jen Hadfield, and I'm going to cut them apart from their original shape, and I'm going to turn them into this circle, and I'm going to support that circle on other parts of the layouts. I'm going to put a smaller circle down at the bottom, and then where the title and journaling are going to meet on the right, I'm going to put an arch and not a full circle over there. So that will help support that circle, that big circle up at the top, so it doesn't feel so stark and out of place. So I'm going to go ahead and get these elements adhered down to the layout, build up my circles and my arches, and then we can move on. Once I've got those firm elements to this design in place, I can go ahead and tuck in bits and pieces here and there. In my kit this month, I am using my Counterfeit Kit for the month of September. In my kit this month, I've got a lot of floral elements and some gold butterflies. And since the theme was transportation, I'm not actually going with a technical transportation theme. Yes, this layout is about a road trip we took, but the layout is really about my daughter leaving home, as the saying goes, flying the nest. And so that is my metaphorical take on this transportation theme. She is ready to fly away and head out onto her own. So that is how I approach today's theme for the CKC challenge. So I won't make you watch me put all of these little bits and pieces in place. Just know that I do try to tuck pieces under other pieces. I try to make sure pieces are touching each other in some way, so that creates very cohesive clusters of embellishments. When I work up here on the title arch, I am sure to add a little bit more layering to this, so I do pop up one of those arcs on some foam dot before I add in other bits and pieces. And you will see me here in a minute. I'm going to cut apart some of these acetate pieces. Don't be afraid to cut apart pre-existing embellishments so that you can make them work for you. I wanted smaller bits of leaves for more fullness of the layering here, so I just cut it apart and tucked it around different pieces of that flower. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my title, and here in a minute you'll see that I spelled the word campus incorrectly, and I knew it looked wrong, but I couldn't figure out why, and so I pulled out my dictionary, and sure enough, it's a U instead of an A. So yeah, that's how I roll sometimes. And so I got that fixed, and I knew I wanted there to be a subtitle to this. It's going to say Campus Visit. And when I pulled out my little wood grain element stickers, they were kind of getting lost on the page. So I decided to back them with this little piece of blue pattern paper, which will come up again in the layout. And I do give that a kind of a fishtail banner element to it, and that will help hold that subtitle a little bit more prominently. And I do fuss with where it should go, and eventually I figure it out. Now down at the bottom of the layout, I had put the date with those same little letter stickers, but I will end up moving those up to the top so that it feels more like a group together up at the top instead of the date being kind of random at the bottom. And with that all done and in place, I can go ahead and start finalizing my embellishments. I do use these little these golden butterfly embellishments, since they are technically flying and flight is a mode of transportation. I did go ahead and use those butterflies. So I'm stretching this challenge by just a little bit, but that's kind of how my brain works, so I'm okay with that. Now, I am using the stripes on this L-shaped part of the banner to hold my journaling, and each one will get a number, and I'm going to add those numbers to those photos. Now, I do have these 2 extra photos, which I am going to tuck behind, and we'll go ahead and make a little element for those photos to live, and they will get their own numbers, and I will make a note on the layout that they are tucked behind so that it is all clear in case people want to see all of the extras. So since I'm numbering my journaling, I'm going to go ahead and number my photos as well. I'm going to do that with this wood grain paper, and I will add a second layer to this with that blue pattern paper that I used for my titling up there. And that will pull all of those elements together, and it will help the journaling match up to a little bit of random photos that we took when we were visiting her college campus for the first time. So here is my number with the blue kind of floral print backing paper, and I do kind of fuss with it a little bit to see how I want it to go, and I definitely decide that I like that blue the best. And I will go ahead and outline each of these numbers. The wood grain paper, I will outline it with that pen, and that's when I decide to go ahead and outline my other photos as well, because it just gives it a very slight pop without having to use a lot of extra materials. Okay, all that is done now, and I'm going to move on to those 2 extra photos that I have, and I'm just going to place these on a block of paper that matches the rest of the layout. I'm going to go ahead and add their numbered titles there, and a tiny bit of other journaling will get added on this as well. But in order to make this an element that looks interesting behind the page, I'm going to create some little tag pieces that will pop up from the top of this block, and that will be a little pull handle as well as a decorative element for people to access these extra photos and little extra journaling. So I size my little tags to be the same width as those photos, and this is how I've been making my tags lately. I just measure on a paper trimmer on each quarter, depending on the size of the tag, but for this size I do about 1/4 of an inch from the top and from the side, and then I just slice off the corner in between those 2 marks. Give it a little hole punch, and then that is my tag element, and I will do 2 of those and adhere them behind my photo block, and then I will add some twine to those to act as further handle bits to this layout, and that will make it kind of clear that this is an extra element that is behind there. I have that little strip of white cardstock back there that you can see that I am going to create into a very tiny pocket. I think it will be a little hard to get this photo block back in place after it's been looked at, but I had that scrap of cardstock, so I wanted to go ahead and put it to use and make it work. And here's where you can see me. It does look a bit small once I get it adhered onto that layout. But since I don't expect a lot of people to be pulling this thing in and out, I think it'll do for the long run. Okay, with all of that done, I decided since I added that fiber element up there at the top, I do want to pull that into other parts of the layout so that, again, it's just kind of building layers of cohesiveness. And I go ahead and tie a little bit of a bow, just an independent little bow, and I clip it so that it looks nice, and then I will just glue it straight onto my layout wherever I think it looks good. And that is just a tiny finishing touch that helps bring everything together here at the end. So we can go ahead and look at some finished photos of this once I've got all of my journaling in place. I do hope you got something useful out of this process video, either ways to take prompts in your own direction or ways to do list journaling, whatever it is. I hope you got something useful. And if you did, I would really appreciate you hitting that thumbs up button because it really does help my channel. I will be back on Wednesday and Friday of this week with more videos for you, so I will see you then.